Florida Republican Congressman Michael Waltz, a member of the House Armed Services Committee, and a former Green Beret who did multiple tours of duty in Afghanistan. Congressman, it's always good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
So Corey Mills, who is a Army veteran, served with the 82nd Airborne, says it was him and his team of private veterans who got this group out. However, here's what the State Department said about this on Monday. Quote, the U.S. has facilitated the safe departure of 4 U.S. citizens by overland route from Afghanistan. Embassy staff was present upon their arrival. They were in good condition. Taliban was aware and did not impede their transit. Nothing about Corey Mills and his team. Sounds like the State Department did it all by themselves. What do you say?
Well, I want to say, thank God for Corey Mills, for so many other veterans organizations, Pineapple, Allied Airlift. We can go down the list that really stepped up and stepped into this void in a chaotic situation, and were guiding people literally on the phone with them, along with congressional offices around Taliban checkpoints, getting them to the right places, facilitating contacts inside of Kabul International. If it were not for them, I think we would have far, far fewer people that got out and far more that are now held behind enemy lines, stranded, hostage, whatever term that the State Department wants to put on it. But at the end of the day, John, we have to take a step back here. Nobody should be embarrassed. This isn't about taking credit. The State Department and the Defense Department should be working hand in glove with these organizations in a public-private partnership about getting the job done. They should be focused on mission and getting Americans out, and not worried about who did what or correcting the record. And that's really disappointing to hear from our own government. So many of these groups feel like they had to fight through our own bureaucracy to get the job done rather than working with them. And that's the mode we should be taking going forward.
In fact, here's what Corey Mills, who, by the way, wants to join you in Congress. He's running for the 7th Congressional District there in Florida in November 2022. He said the State Department was no help in getting this woman, Mariam, and her 3 kids out. He says that they were told by the State Department, hey, we're sorry, the border is totally locked down. And it was through some ingenuity and a little bit of deception that Mills and his team were able to get them out. Listen to what he told us this morning on Fox and Friends.
It was our team who was able to basically trick this Taliban commander into letting them through, because they thought that one of my sat phones, which has a +88 number, was Doha, and we convinced them that Doha, where the leadership was, had approved this.
Meanwhile, there's the State Department who was saying that the Taliban in Doha said, no, the border is closed. So, I mean, here you had, apparently the State Department did meet them when they crossed over the border into a third country. But if it weren't for Mills and a lot of these other groups, Congressman, that you noted at the top of this, there would still be a lot of people stuck in that country.
Well, that's absolutely right. And I can tell you how frustrating it is for me, for other members of Congress, Republican and Democrat, and for these groups when you hear things like Jen Psaki or Secretary Blinken say, well, we notified the Americans 19 times and we gave them ample warning. Well, when you send an email and say you're on your own to get through Taliban lines and to get to Kabul airport, and they're given 30 minutes notice, that's unacceptable, because the fact is we'd pulled all of our military assets out, and we should have been going out and getting Americans, not telling them, well, get there if you can. So these veterans, many of whom I've talked to, have quit their jobs or on leave, doing whatever it takes, and they're not going to quit. I mean, the evacuation's still ongoing, not just for Americans, but for our Afghan allies that we promised that we would get out. They're not going to stop. So my strong advice, and I wrote a letter to Secretary Blinken on this over the weekend, is engage these groups, have them into your office, let's celebrate the victories together, and have a public-private partnership going forward, because the reality is we've got no troops on the ground, no diplomats on the ground. All you really have are these private organizations that are stepping in with their own money, time, and resources to get the job done, and that's what we should be focused on.
Meantime, over the weekend, there were some 6 aircraft reportedly stuck on the ground in Mazar-e-Sharif that were not allowed to take off, according to Anthony Blinken, who said it this morning. There were some people on board those aircraft that didn't have the proper documentation to get out. So much for U.S. leverage over the Taliban that the president claimed that we would have. Here's a question for you, though. Blinken is coming up to the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Monday, Senate Foreign Affairs Committee on Tuesday. What do you want to hear from him? You know what I want to hear? And not so much me. All of these veterans,
The Gold Star families, we have 13 new ones now, victims of 9/11 as we head into the 20th anniversary. Who is going to stand up and say, I screwed up? This was on me. This did not go right. Instead, we hear officials, including the president, blaming others, saying this was, a lot of happy talk, that this was a record evaluation. Who is going to take responsibility? Publicly and officially, because this was a chaotic disaster that's going to be a stain on the United States, and for so many of these groups that are just been so badly affected on their own psyche and on their souls for years to come. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear accountability and responsibility. And
Congressman, I apologize to you and our audience. I chuckled when you said that because I don't expect that will happen. Closest we got was the president said the buck stopped with him, but it was all Donald Trump's fault. So we'll see where this goes next week. Congressman Michael Waltz, thank you again for your service. Good to talk to you.